Welcome back. Welcome to our China ASEAN New Smart City Innovation and Entrepreneurship Competition. And of course, just before lunch, we're going to have another 3 more team with really exciting pitch performances too. Now we're going to move on to our team number 4, which is our Vasco Systems. The world is changing. And with GHG emissions at the forefront of most people's minds, changes are afoot in where people must stand up and be accountable. Team Vasco System areas is in maritime transport. Now, the ability to monitor how each emissions each vessel produces is soon becoming mandatory. Vasco has developed a SaaS, which not only manages the day-to-day voyages and movements, but also gives the ship owners the ability to view their emissions output so that they can take the appropriate action in reducing CO2 output. Right now, we're going to check out our team number here, and of course, which is our Vasco system, team number 4. Let's check out his pitch performance. Let's go.
Hi, my name's Tim Spragg, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Vasco Solutions. So we are a freight and emissions management system that allows ship owners to not only manage their voyages from front to back, but also actually manage their emissions actually before and during and after those voyages. So it gives them the ability to view from a forward perspective. A little bit about myself. I began my career back in the 90s on the Futures Exchange in London, wearing a funny coloured jacket and shouting at a lot of people, before moving to an oil trading company where I was actually shouted at, but I actually experienced all aspects of the company, from back office, middle office, front office, trading, and also shipping. So I got a good view of exactly what happens in terms of a life cycle of a trade, the amount of fuel that's produced, the amount that you're moving around. I moved to Asia in 2005, where I joined a shipping company. So I've actually experienced, again, more the Asian-focused brand in terms of the shipping side of things, and also developed Vasco Systems back in 2020 because I did see a gap in the market, and that's the solution that we're trying to actually become a lot better at and actually solve that problem.
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm the CFO and co-founder for Vasco. I've got about 20 years experience in the maritime industry. Most recently, I spent 15 years as CFO of a large energy trading and ship owning company. Now, during my tenure with that company, I estimate that we transported about 150 million tons of product around the world. And to do that, we would have burnt about 6 million tons of fuel oil. And guess what? That 6 million tons of fuel oil equates to 18 million tons of carbon dioxide. I'll say that again. 18 million tons of carbon dioxide emitted into the atmosphere. Tim and I think it's time for the shipping industry to do better in terms of reducing its emissions. And if it can save some costs at the same time, so much the better. And that's what the Vasco offering is here to do.
So, I mean, there's no doubt now, all the news stories we're reading at the moment has climate change, climate effect. You know, the US put a new bill through just today with regards to putting money into solving this problem. And the International Maritime Organization, or the IMO as it's referred to, they've actually aimed to put in these limits to halve carbon emissions by 2050. So these limits are introduced, so therefore the amount of carbon dioxide is measured per voyage. China have proposed actually a model, a sustainability model, which will actually reward a cleaner voyage. So therefore, if you're burning less fuel, you're burning less carbon emissions, and therefore you're actually going within those limits and getting rewarded for it. If you're over those limits, then obviously you're going to get punished and fined. And there's talks of carbon tax coming in as well at this point in time. Currently, there's no commercially available voyage management system, so that's what manages the voyages from front to back, that also can manage emissions and look at it from a forward perspective and during that. So to give you a bit of context, if a vessel is steaming at an economical speed or within those IMO limits, and within those carbon emissions targets, they will actually save about $1.6 million in bunker fuel costs per vessel per year. Now, with that, if you think COSCO, for example, one of the biggest ship owners in China, they've actually got 1,408 ships. So 1.6 million per vessel, 1,408 ships, do the maths on that, that's billions, just in fuel savings. And not only fuel savings, you're also saving the world by reducing your carbon emissions. So what we've developed is we've developed a first-in-class software as a service business model. So we get per user per month. We have 6 modules. So again, you can buy the modules individually, or you can actually buy them as the full suite. It really is entirely up to the customer. But having that flexibility has a good impact on change management. In terms of change management in the company, using new systems, it's always a difficult thing. But without the way that we've done it, it's a lot easier to do from that point of view.
So the global ship owning industry is distributed around the world, but with heavy concentrations both in East Asia, in Europe, and in the USA. We're going to reach out to all of those owners, but we're also going to leverage our industry contacts amongst firms such as shipbrokers, amongst the banks and industry agencies. But also, based on our experience, we know that many of those owners are using multiple information systems, many of them quite old, many of them fragmented. Very few of them can handle emissions data at all, and most of them, all of them, cannot handle emissions data before the voyage happens. It cannot handle advanced management. So how do ship owners make better decisions about managing their carbon, about controlling their costs? The Vasco platform offers a solution. If we look at the current voyage management system market, it's dominated by a single incumbent, but we can also see that half of the industry chooses either to use less comprehensive systems or even no system at all. So that tells us that many users' wants and needs are not really being met. This market is ripe for disruption, and the Vasco system, which is built on better, more modern, more user-friendly tech, will address this market first of all. However, by placing the Vasco VMS at the heart of the commercial management of each ship, we also put ourselves into pole position to become the aggregator of choice for the multiple streams of data that each and every ship generates on each and every voyage. So that's a market in excess of $1 billion US. It's high margin. Taking Vasco into the big data space increases our addressable market by a factor of about 12. That's our long-term vision. That's going to be Vasco 2.0. But for today, as we say in the shipping industry, we're finished with engines. We'd like to thank you very much for your attention, and we look forward to speaking to you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That will be from our team for Vasco System. I think it's absolutely awesome to have a system like this that can help ship owners to save on carbon tax. And not only that, hey, they're saving our earth too. So right now, I believe they will love to hear from the men yourself. That will be our team and Mike. Shall we invite them right up here in the studio together with us? Team and Mike, welcome. Wow. I love anybody who's able to save the earth. All right. That's absolutely wonderful. All right. I'm going to pass it over to our judges over there. Dr. Che, if you have any questions, please do go ahead too. All right. Thank you.
Okay. So, yeah, thank you for the presentation. So, can you explain more on the system that you have developed and how the big data is used in your solution? Thank you.
Well, what we've actually developed is a voyage management system. So the way the life cycle of fixing a ship or booking a ship is you get an inquiry for what cargo is going from A to B. You then run numbers of what price to give it at. And at the moment, there's no way of knowing how much emissions are being produced on that voyage. We've actually put the algorithms in to actually show that if you use the certain itinerary going from A to B, how much emissions you're producing. So therefore, you can relay that back and almost create a green voyage. And from that point of view, that's how we're actually creating that. And then that can be monitored during that voyage. So if, for example, the vessel hits bad weather and is going full speed, you know then that you'll be over those IMO limits, and therefore you can take appropriate action during that voyage from there.
How do you integrate with all the existing, I believe there are some geolocation system, right, already available in all those ships, and they might be coming from various provider, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, with regards to the current legacy systems that are being used at the moment, we can actually have an API feed, which can actually take the information required out of that system to put into our system. So if they're going to purchase the emissions module, basically, they can actually then take that information out and put it straight into the system from there, or they use our full suite of modules. So they will actually then retire the older system and go from that point of view from there. So it's very simple. Because we build it on modern technology, it's actually quite a simple process.
Given that this competition is, partnering up with the city of Nanning in itself, and Nanning doesn't really have, that easy access to ships due to its geography. I'm just wondering how relevant would this be with regards to this competition and helping with the smart city vision of. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, but China is the second largest ship owner in the world. It's obviously a huge economy integrated in terms of import and export business. So we intend to take the product to market in China. We'll need local representation to do that. We'll focus initially on Shanghai, just for obvious reasons of maritime concentration, but then later on looking to focus on the Greater Bay Area, Hong Kong and surrounds, and possibly the north as well. So we think this will be very important to China. In our presentation, we touched briefly on the specific proposals that China has brought forward to the IMO.
Question on the regulatory requirements, because you mentioned that soon there will be regulations around basically carbon emissions. I assume that the regulations, there will be global regulations, but then there will be country-specific regulations. Are you planning to have some regulatory reporting that goes right away for ship owners to the regulators? Second, cybersecurity, because I assume that all the information that you are transmitting, from the ships, basically, real time, because if you want to be able to adjust the journey based on the weather, how are you going to do that? And this goes to almost the third question. It is the big data that you will be using. There will be a regulation how you can use it. So how do you plan to monetize it? Because I assume that the ship owners are in different countries. There are different data legislations in a different countries. So it's a quite complex, I would say, roadmap.
Yeah, I think the regulatory angle is really going to be on the ship owners themselves. So many of the banks, for example, that are lending into shipping are signed up to something called the Poseidon Principles, and they require their owners to give them a report on the emissions footprint of the ship that they financed. We can help them with that. At the moment, it's a rather fragmented process. There's lots of spreadsheets, hoovering up of invoices and bunker receipts at the end of the year. With our platform, they'll be able to monitor that in real time and as they go along. In terms of data aggregation, there's an awful lot of technical enhancements being put onto ships at the moment, and everybody's building their own piece of software to record it. But ultimately, if the Vasco software is controlling the voyage of the ship, we're in the best position to collect up that data and see if those technical enhancements are actually working or not.
So it's going to be a lot of enhancements of the enterprise software regarding security, I assume.
Yes, exactly right. And on the cyber front, cyber has been very topical in maritime recently. So I think, again, the owners will need to make their own arrangements to work with our software. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our judges and, of course, to Team and Mike from Vasco Systems. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There you are. Once if you've just joined us, once again, that will be our team number 4, Vasco Systems. We have another 2 more teams to go. Really exciting peach performance. If you've just joined us, you've got to stay tuned with us. All right. Coming up next, we have our team number 5, Trinity Eco. Now, Trinity Eco Private Limited